Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Spice is nice. It's really good. I really recommend it.
It's like home.
Everything's perfect.
It's absolutely delicious.
It was really, really nice.
Superbly marinated.
The customer service is amazing.
My favorite Asian food in Bangkok right now.
It was genuinely the best, most filling meal I've ever eaten in my life.
The most authentic place to come for Filipino street food, food and rice.
Hello, everybody, and happy Sunday. Today, the 21st of February, and we are back here with Pusong Pinoy with Malcolm Conlan, and I'll be your guest host for today, Joshua Dabatos. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Magandang araw sa lahat ng Pilipino abroad, around the globe. Mayong buntag, mayong hapon. Good day, everybody. So it's a very special day, again, with me and together with our main host, main man, Malcolm Conlan, later on. We'll be starting the show with a very good conversation that we will be having with a Filipina who recently moved back to the Philippines. And we will be talking about how life was when she was abroad and what are the stories that we can learn from our special guest today. So we'll have a lot of good things to share later on, and we also have our guest, which Malcolm will introduce in a little while. So with no further ado, I'd like to call on our first guest for today's episode here with Pusong Pinoy with Malcolm Conlan, Hermione Abadia, formerly a flight attendant with a foreign airline carrier, and we will talk about her story in a little while. So let's bring her to the show. Good day. Magandang araw sa iyo, Hermione.
Good evening. Maayong gabi. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Thank you very much for inviting me to your show. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Daghang salamat.
Thank you so much. And how would you like us to call you in the show? Hermione or Mayang?
Right. My first name is actually Hermione. A little bit trivia. I'd like to believe that I'm the first Hermione here in the Philippines because when I used to get my National Bureau Investigation clearance, back then it was difficult to get it. But with my name, I can just easily get it. So they said that I'm the only Hermione in the Philippines. But then when Harry Potter came, there are so many Hermione. But my friends, they call me Mayang.
Mayang,
so
hello. Good.
Whichever you like to use, whichever you're comfortable.
That would be great. Hermione, and there's definitely a lot of Hermione post Harry Potter. And magandang araw sa iyo, Mayang. And we actually, I call Mayang Ate Mayang here in the Philippines. For Filipinos around the globe, we call our elders Mayang, or someone older than us as Ate. So Ate Mayang, good day and welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm great. We have a little bit of typhoon over here, but all good from my side. And I hope that everyone here in Cebu City will stay safe.
Same, because we actually are, for the knowledge of everybody watching the show today, Cebu, or the southern part of the Philippines, is experiencing a typhoon as we speak. It's not that strong, so I'm just hoping and praying that everybody is safe around the areas where the typhoon is affecting. But yes, talking about the typhoon and being back here at home, how about we talk about your experiences back when you were still abroad and how it was like. So tell us a story about your experience abroad and how it was like back then.
I'm really grateful that I took a leap of faith, rather, applying for an international airline. I actually did not know back then where Abu Dhabi is, what the culture
Uh-huh.
is. It was Etihad Airways was fairly a new airline. It was probably a year or 2 years operating.
Mhm.
I just wanted to explore, and so I went to UAE, or United Arab Emirates. The first city that I landed was in Dubai. It was great. Back 2005, there were still a lot of, you could still see a lot of desert. I have learned so much in that country, and I have grown as well in my career, and I'm truly grateful being there. It was challenging though, adjusting, being away from Philippines, from your family members, and the great thing was that there are a lot of expatriates there. There are a lot of Filipinos there as well, a lot of Filipino food, and so I didn't really feel homesick.
Mhm.
It was great experience there because I have seen the country grow, and new buildings and new establishments, and it was great. Like, and being a flight attendant in one of the national carriers of United Arab Emirates, I really was fortunate enough to work for that airline, because not only I became a cabin crew, but I also became a safety instructor for pilots and cabin crew.
That
Yes,
sounds
and that
very
is
interesting.
yes, and the reason why I came back to Philippines is that I really wanted to share what I know as a safety instructor for cabin crew to my fellow Cebuanos, or for the people living close to our region, that they too would have knowledge of the career, so that when they are already confident enough to apply for the job, they would feel confident as well. So that was my dream, and that's the reason why I came back here. It was a tough decision to leave United Arab Emirates, because I have been in that country for probably 10 or 11 years, and
Mhm.
I love the place, and I really suited myself well in that country. But sometimes you really have to take tough decisions in life.
Mhm.
So while I still have my youth, I wanted to go back home and share this experience or expertise that I have with regards to preparing cabin crew aspirants on how they can become a best candidate for the cabin crew position.
And definitely that story of yours is very inspiring, because like a lot of our audiences tuned in today in today's episode are also hoping to be in the future be part of international airline carriers. And in your story, you were part of the first few who became let's say who were the first Filipina crews of Etihad, or that airline company. And you shared about being in the United Arab Emirates as early as the early 2000s. The changes was really like, well, the that area in this planet rapidly changed over the past 20 years, and you probably have seen the struggles as well of fellow Filipinos. So a lot can relate. Maraming Filipinos ngayon ang nanunood, daghang Cebuanos maybe, who are tuned
Yes.
in, who are still in the United Arab Emirates, and who may be able to relate to your story. Tell us about the most significant experience when you were starting, probably with fellow Filipinos, or maybe interacting with other nationalities. Where there are clashes that you've gone through, being part of, let's say, a melting pot?
Well, in the beginning, it was just the communication challenge with some of the locals, where I didn't really understand back then, because I didn't have background, how they would treat women differently, or like when you go to the supermarkets, knowing that United Arab Emirates is a Muslim country, they do have separate lanes for women, and then they do have separate lanes for men, and nothing really much that I have a bad experience in UAE, as long as you are familiar with the laws over there and you just follow those laws. And I didn't experience any negative experience over there. But what I can share there in United Arab Emirates is that it's really a place where you can be if you want to build your career, because there's a lot of jobs that you can't back then, before COVID, a lot of job offers over there, and then the companies really allow you to grow. And most of the people there are expatriates. Yes, so it's not really challenging. And there are a lot of Filipino communities as well, a lot of Filipino foods. Even our Filipino fast food chain Jollibee is there, Chowking is also there. But being a flight attendant, it kind of shielded me, or I wasn't really aware of how other Filipinos are living, because as a flight attendant in United Arab Emirates, we have our own accommodation, we have our own complex. It's like we had our own world. And so I challenged myself to make friends with other Filipinos who are not flight attendants as well. So I was able to see how they were living in apartments, 2-bedroom apartments, 40 people living over there. And it might probably sound like too cramped up to be living 40 people in a 2-bedroom apartment, but you know how Filipinos are. Even if what we are going through, even if you are sharing a single bed with another person, because that's how much you can afford, but still the camaraderie is there. People still manage to come together in their dining table, even if it's just a small one, 40 people in one small kitchen, and sharing their experiences in work and helping each other how to get work, and just sharing the food that they have with the money that they can buy. Not all Filipinos in UAE are fortunate enough to have good jobs or high-paying jobs. There are plenty of Filipinos there as well who are earning just enough somehow sometimes to get by, and enough to send money back home. But you know, when you make friends with Filipinos who are not just flight attendants, I was able to see that, and I was able to appreciate the job that I have and it had back then, and it made me humble as well. And I enjoyed making friends with or hanging out with people who are non-flight attendants as well, because it made me appreciate the job that I have and how lucky I am, and that I hope as well that with what I have, the pasalubongs that I can buy from different countries, I used to share with them, you know. So yes, and that was one of the fun part that I had with my career and with the other co-Filipinos as well. I cried with them and I laughed with them as well, and shared food with them and
That's really good. That's a really good story, and really good. A lot of Filipinos and a lot of our audiences can definitely relate. They may be looking back into their previous experiences being employees outside or working outside of the country. And in the next part of the show, we're just gonna jump into our first break. And right before we go to the next part of the show, we'll also have Malcolm join us for some further conversation. And we really enjoy having this conversation with Mayang, or Hermione Abadia. So we'll be back in a few while. We'll just pause for short commercials.
The spice is nice. It's really good. I really recommend it.
It's like home. Everything's perfect.
It's absolutely delicious.
It was really, really nice.
Superbly marinated.
The customer service is amazing.
My favorite Asian food in Bangkok now.
It was genuinely the best, most filling meal I've ever eaten in my life.
The most authentic place to come for Filipino street food, spoon and rice.
Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Hi guys.
And we're back.
You know, it's awesome to really join you guys today, and I absolutely love watching the show. Thanks so much to all my sponsors, to World Remit, to Spoon and Rice, to Comfort Healthcare, and of course to Joshua. Thanks so much. I know you're in Cebu right now, and I know both of you, there's a typhoon over there. How is that affecting you both right now?
Just before the show, I actually had an internet problem, so I had to fix it. But good thing it got fixed just right on time.
Yeah, and Hermione, what a name!
Thank you.
I'm also a fan of Harry Potter, so kind of that's a really cool name you have there.
Are you? Yes. You know, it was so funny when I was a flight attendant. I didn't realize that my name was famous when Harry Potter came, and I had children passengers who used to ask me when I do service, and they'd say, "Sorry."
Oh, bless. This is the thing with a live show, everybody. We're live.
Yes, and how are you, Malcolm?
I'm good. It's nice that you've opened up the show, and I want to try and speak more Filipino within the show as well, because of course a lot of our audience are back home from the Philippines. So I think it's really nice. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us. And we also have other awesome things happening within today's show as well. So I'm really...
We'll have Lauren
really
in a little while.
Exactly. We have Lauren coming up as well. Let's try and go back to Hermione. Are you there?
So just giving her a little bit more time. Maybe, as you mentioned, Malcolm, you want to hear more of Filipino spoken in this show. Maybe next time we can speak in Filipino, Tagalog, or maybe Cebuano.
Exactly. So is it, well, obviously, maraming salamat, magandang hapon, magandang gabi, Pilipinas. And is it mayong gabi? Is that?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yes, mayong gabi.
Cool, brilliant. Yeah, so you were saying, Hermione.
Yes, so I was in the cabin and I was doing service, and one of my children, passengers, that boy was asking me, "Excuse me, where's Harry?" And I was like, "Sorry, so, do I know you?" And then he said, "No, Harry." I'm like, "I don't know any Harry. What do you mean?" "No, Harry Potter." I'm like, "Oh, yes, it's my name. Yes, Harry Potter." Yeah, so I didn't realize that my name was famous. So. And now I'm used to it. Yes, every time someone recognizes my name, they say, "Oh, where's Harry?" Okay.
You know, a lot of people, when they think about cabin crew, a lot of people think they'll just be people who will be going up and down the aisles, kind of serving food, serving drinks. But of course, it's so much more than that, isn't there, in terms of safety and everything? You almost have to learn how to fly the plane yourself in case of emergencies. Tell me about that cabin crew journey, because I know it's very intensive. And I also know that many people back home in the Philippines, they would dream to be cabin crew, but only a very few get through to that. Just very quickly, tell us about that journey.
Well, I was one of the lucky Filipinas that on my first try, I was able to land the cabin crew job when I first applied for Philippine Airlines. And also, but I was just lucky enough that I prepared myself for that. although I did not know why flight attendants are on board. Yes, but I did through rejections as well or failures as well when I tried to apply for international airlines, and I didn't realize how many people wanted to work for an international airline. And I realized how important it is to really save on experiences that you can demonstrate to the recruiters when you want to apply for an international airline. So you really need preparation for that. But even though I failed quite a few times, I did not felt bad about it, but instead I used it as a step for myself to become better. And when I applied for Etihad Airlines or Etihad Airways, I was lucky enough to be selected as one of the first 50 Filipinas that they hired. And that's why I created the training center here in Cebu City, because I wanted the other applicants or aspirants to be best prepared and that they know why they are there on board. And the primary reason why flight attendants are there on board the aircraft is in the event that when there is an emergency evacuation, we would be able to save everyone on board the aircraft within 90 seconds, half of the doors used. Yes,
Completely.
but of course, evacuation doesn't happen all the time. So what people do see is cabin crew doing service. Yes, but we are saving that energy, that spirit, just in case that happens. Then we are able to carry out our job, which is to save everybody.
Not only that, you have to be incredibly calm. And the background that I come through is I used to do first aid in events, and I've used the defib 3 times successfully to get people back when they've had a cardiac arrest. But people forget that you will have things like that as well. You'll have people passing away on board, people having heart attacks, and you still need to have that outwardly calm appearance, don't you? Because if you look really flustered, then that's going to make people panic. And I think that's a really important skill that obviously you need to learn, as well as the first aid training, swimming, everything else. I'm sure it's pretty intensive.
It is, and even though that you will go through cabin crew training or you pass the cabin crew recruitment, it doesn't guarantee you that you will be released from flying, because there will be a lot of written tests and practical tests that you have to go through. And one of that is that you would be able to ensure that you would stay calm in emergency situations, at the same time make correct decisions based on what you see from your surroundings, based on what is happening. And that is a little bit challenging as well, because there are a lot of people in our hands. One cabin crew, we have 50 people in our hands. Yes, and yet we still want to reassure them that we know what we're going to do in case an unfortunate event that would happen. And that is why we have to do our training every year. And part of our training every year is to go through different emergency scenarios, so that when it happens, we don't have to panic. We are calm because we experience it in training every year.
Exactly. Joshua, over to you. I think Joshua's frozen now. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm here.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead? Anyone any more questions for Hermione? That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, that was there's a lot of things happening in the background. Just what you see as a flight attendant goes beyond what you see in the cabin, and definitely what you shared, being doing something to help fellow Filipinos or people who are wanting to be a flight attendant here in Cebu. And how's the training going on? Like, are there a lot of people showing interest, or are you doing the classes regularly already?
Okay, so what happened to me, I started the training 2019, and I was lucky enough to reach 1 year, and I had quite a good number of students, and I was able even to tap other schools as well for those who are offering airline management classes. But then the pandemic happened, and so I had to stop the face-to-face training, and eventually I had to shift to online training as well. Now, when the pandemic started, at the onset, I was one of the first training center who offered free online classes. And The reason that I did this because I wanted to divert the attention of the other aspirants, because it was in the news that there were airlines closing and there were flight attendants losing their jobs. So I didn't want them to lose their dream or to forget about their dream because of what we are happening now. This actually happened to me, not to me, but somehow I was exposed to this because 2002 in Philippine Airlines, when I joined that company, we were still experiencing SARS at that time, and I recall that there were also flight attendants who were who had to leave their job because of SARS. And what I've learned back then was that the airline can actually recall or hire back those flight attendants that they had to let go. So this is why I wanted to share to the cabin crew aspirants not to lose hope. Yes, one day when things will get better, then they can still get their job the job that they want for themselves.
So definitely they need to just hold on to their dreams of becoming a flight attendant. All right. And this is from your experience. And little do we know, like for those who are very young, in the younger generations, you may have not heard about what happened back in the early 2000s. SARS happened. This is also a pandemic or a similar virus which spread across the globe, affecting a lot of employees. So what's your message to those people who may be losing hope at this point, like basing it on your experience and just the right timing, like you came home just before the pandemic? What would be your piece of advice just to give them or keep them inspired?
Yes, everyone is going through the same thing, and it is very important to keep our mental health. We are all going through hardship, but if we just have to feed our minds with positive thoughts that we are going to go through this pandemic all together, healthy and happy. And it is essential as well that we would appreciate the things that we are experiencing, the blessings that we still have in our lives. Those are very important thoughts to feed our brain, yes? And even if we are going through pandemic, if there is anything that you share, it can be experience or it doesn't have to be so big, but find that opportunity for you to be able to share your blessing somehow. That can help you as well go through this difficult situation, yes? And still be kind to people. We are all going through a hard time, but it doesn't mean that we have to be mean to each other, yes? There's still room for that kindness and humanity that we can share to everybody, and believe that one day we will all go through this and we will have opportunity to reach all our dreams. And this is the best time for us to prepare for those dreams that we have. It can be a career or it can be a business or whatever we want to achieve. This is the best time for ourselves to reflect and to think of what are the things that we need to improve on ourselves, so that one day when the opportunity comes, we can be the person that we want to be, the business that we want for ourselves, the career that we want, or whatever we have dreams for ourselves.
Completely. You know, I'm really impressed that you're doing this online training. I think it's absolutely fabulous. There are so many back home in the Philippines who are aspiring to be cabin crew. You know, I've seen this thing on TikTok where people are practicing do the Philippine airline announcements. We tried that earlier on, and I don't think I'm good enough to do it myself. But I know there's so much fun. There's so much excitement around being cabin crew. But the thing is, we're not really returning to normal yet, and I don't think we're going to suddenly open up in a month's time and there's going to be thousands of cabin crew. Just finally, tell us what you think is going to happen. I think personally it might be around about October or November before we get any sense of normality. What's your opinion on this?
Well, according to the aviation regulatory bodies, it might take until 2022 for airlines to be able to get back to normal. And I believe that if everyone will have the access to vaccine, then we would be able to get back to normal. It takes time, but we need to be patient about this because we also need to think of our safety as well.
Exactly. How can people reach you in terms of social media? How can people connect with you? Do you still do any online training or anything like that?
Yes, they can reach me through my personal Facebook account, which is MAYANG Abs or Hermione Abs. And our Facebook page is RWY22. So Runway 22 is the name of the cabin crew training center here in Cebu City.
Fantastic, Joshua. And maybe we can. You got any shout outs for anybody?
We're gonna have that later on, but definitely we will share the link that Mayang mentioned, that we will be putting that into the comments of this show, and we are live as well in Facebook. So please do share the show and have a lot of Filipinos join us in today's episode.
Thank you so much. Maraming salamat. I really do appreciate your time. It's been absolutely awesome. Thank you for sharing your time with us and for giving us that hope, if you like, that we are going to return to some normality, and hopefully I can then come back to Cebu as soon as possible.
And we'll have fun.
Yes, let me know.
I will do. Maraming salamat.
Salamat. The pleasure is actually mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayang and Malcolm.
Brilliant. It's been absolutely awesome so far. I've really enjoyed the show. It's great to be able to speak to people directly from the Philippines, and I'm very grateful to you, Josh, as well, that you've taken out the time to help me along this journey. Now we're going from the Philippines to the United Kingdom. We're going to be meeting an upcoming singer-songwriter, Lauren. But not only that, Lauren's actually professionally studied songwriting, which is absolutely awesome. So Joshua, I'm sure you would join me in welcoming Lauren St. James.
Yes. Give her a round virtual applause.
Hello.
Pretty.
Hi,
hello, Lauren.
Thanks for having me.
So Lauren, you're half
How
Filipino,
are
right?
you? I am, yes, half Filipino and half British.
Whereabouts in the Philippines are your family from, or?
They're from Pangasinan. I've got a lot of
Wow.
family in San Jacinto and just sort of that area.
My wife's
And they're
from
probably
San Carlos,
tuned in
Pangasinan, so yeah, I love the Philippines very much. But I've been to Dagupan, to San Carlos, all around that area. So Joshua, do you want to ask some questions to Lauren? Let's find out a little bit about her. That'll be awesome.
So Lauren, how have you? Did you grow up in the UK, or did you also spend time back in Pangasinan? And how was life like in your early days?
Well, I was born in London. I then had a trip to the Philippines when I was about 5. I don't remember it, which is a shame, but there are pictures, so there's proof. And then about 2 years ago, I went again when I was 23. So almost 10 years later. Oh, sorry, 20 years later. My math is awful. And it was just amazing. Like, I dreamed of going there forever, and at an age where I could actually understand what was going on, and it was just even more beautiful than I'd even imagined.
Did that form part of your inspiration with the songs that you were writing, like your experiences back home, your growing up days?
Well, I did write a song about my grandma, who sadly passed away. And she's my Filipino grandma, and my grandparents own a sort of mango tree farm, and I did write a song about her after she passed called Mango Tree. It basically just sort of imagining, sitting under those trees again without her there, but kind of them always being a reminder of her for us.
You know what, Malcolm, like the Filipino grandparents are the sweetest. And what's your fondest memory with your grandmom other than the mango tree, where you got the inspiration for the song?
Honestly, she was just always offering me food, and I feel like that is just the quintessential Filipino grandma. Just kind of being like, "Are you hungry?" Even though you've had like 2 plates of rice already. It's like, come on, more rice. And she like, as you say, she was just the most lovely person ever. So yeah, just so many great memories. There's nothing she wouldn't have done for us. So
that's so nice. And how long have you been writing songs? How long have you been writing songs?
Well, I actually wrote my first song when I was think I wrote my first song when I was 7 years old. I have no idea why I decided to do it. I think I was just hearing songs on the radio like Kylie and just wanting to be like her. And so I just thought, I'm going to write a song. And it was actually just after my parents separated. So it was kind of a bit of not a depressing song, but quite emotional for such a young child. It was called Life Ain't a Fairy Tale, which is a bit sad looking back, but it was a good song. It was, very pop, and I think it had potential.
And I'm sorry to hear about that part of your life, and you definitely probably have gone through so much. Okay, and
well, I think one of the things about being a songwriter is you just sort of take any difficult emotions or any difficult incidents that happen in your life and you write about it, and you feel so much better about it in the end.
So nice. And how did you cope up with that, and what were the things that actually helped you move on and move forward, other than the songs that you were writing to inspire yourself as well?
Yeah, I think it was just a case of, you're feeling all these emotions, but you don't know how to get them out. And once they're on paper, and you kind of create something beautiful out of something really difficult. And then you've got that for the rest of your life to kind of remember how you were feeling and, just sort of that it's okay now. And yeah, I mean, these things happen to a lot of people, and I think, it's all good. I just needed to write a few songs about it.
That's nice. And I can see really good pictures of you and your childhood friends and your family. And do you have pets as well, Lauren?
I do. So you might have noticed I've got this golden retriever music video where I've basically got loads of golden retrievers around me. And that is because my family has a company called the Golden Retriever Experience, and we have a lot of golden retrievers, and people come and visit them all the time. They're just like big bundles of joy and little rays of sunshine. And yeah, I've had dogs since I was about 11. My family's just obsessed with dogs, especially golden retrievers, because they're just the best dog ever.
And they're the sweetest.
So yeah, I'm sort of known as like the dog lady now.
Wow.
They really are. They're always smiling.
I've been watching
they're
that
the perfect
video.
dogs.
I've been watching that video. It's absolutely awesome. It really, really is. And it's so cute as well. There are so many people who've been commenting on it. By way of modern technology, we're going to be watching that video in just a few seconds. So we're going to be introducing your song. Do you want to go ahead and introduce the name of your song?
Yeah, perfect. So this is Way Too Controlling, the Golden Retriever music video.
You're way too controlling. Acting like your word is holy. Like everything you touch is golden. No, you ain't the one who chose it. You're way too controlling. Acting like your word is holy. Like everything you touch is golden. No, you ain't the one who chose it. We met the beginning of summer. Took hold of me like you my lover. As we got to know one another. So the warning signs behind your eyes. Each day you get even more enough. It's time for you to give it up. I call your bluff, your so-called love. I've told you time and time again, don't need you now, I listen then. I'll close my eyes and count to 10. You better be confident, need to control it. Acting like your word is holy, like everything you touch is golden. No, you ain't the one who chose it. The way to control it. Acting like your word is holy, like everything you touch is golden. No, you ain't the one who chose it.
Wow, that was incredible. That must have taken you like
Hello?
so long to make. How was it like working with the dogs in making that video? Because it seems to be so much hard work went into that.
Well, yeah, it didn't actually take as long as you might think. We kind of just planned out a whole day of filming because the grounds belonged to my dad, so we didn't have to rent it out or anything. We had as long as we wanted, so we started really early in the morning and finished just as the sun was setting. And the thing is my dad, so he was a dog whisperer. That was sort of his job for the past 10 years before the Golden Retriever experience. So he's like the #1 dog trainer, and so he's got great command of the dogs. And like the beginning at the gate, before they all sort of rush out, he was sort of behind the house saying, right, wait, stay. And then as soon as I sort of did this, it was like, okay, go on.
Wow.
So yeah,
It's awesome.
it was
Josh,
great.
do you have any dogs? Do you love dogs as well? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I do have, but they're not the big ones, not the golden retriever, but they're the chihuahuas. Very, very
Oh.
fierce, but they're very lovely as well. But yes, I actually enjoyed looking at the dogs. They look so participative. It looks like they're so used to the cameras.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
also
they're
have a lot
very
of,
photogenic. Yeah.
they are. How about you, Malcolm? Do you also have dogs right at home?
I've always wanted to. I've loved dogs growing up, but of course, there's so much responsibility in owning a dog, and some people forget that. Of course, they need plenty of exercise. They need certain things to be in place, and I really don't think you should take on the responsibility of I don't say owning a dog, but having a dog if you don't have that facility to be able to own one. My daughter had a rabbit growing up, and we've had hamsters and things like that. But I think taking on a dog is a big responsibility. I'm sure you'd agree.
Definitely. That's why I decided to get the Chihuahua. They're so easy to maintain, easy to take care.
I have a question about pop music, or really music in general, Lauren, if that's okay. I know we have one, if you like, K-pop band in the Philippines, SB19. But I know that's massively successful. And I know, of course, BTS has done so much for Korea and Korean culture and made so much money for the country. And I also know there's also a few Philippine songwriters, singer-songwriters in the UK who are writing Korean songs. What is it about that culture, if you like, or songwriting that people could maybe learn from or embrace? Have you taken that on? Is that something you're interested in? And how do you think people can move forward with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in getting more in touch with the Philippine market because I've done everything sort of in England, and that's where my fan base are at the moment. That's where my friends and family are. So I haven't explored it much, but it's really exciting actually in the Philippines because I suppose in England there's so much going on that it's really hard to break into. But I feel like there's still so much we could learn in the Philippines, and like there's so much potential, so much room to grow. It's really exciting over there. And as you say, with the K-pop stuff that's coming out, I mean, I only really got introduced to it in the past few years, even though I know it's been around for a long time, but it just blew up so massively in the past few years. And I definitely think the Philippines, has got it in us. I mean, for goodness sake, every single party, we've got the karaoke machine out, and everyone's an amazing singer in the Philippines. So
Yes.
yeah, I'd like to get a lot more involved in Filipino songwriters and girl bands, boy bands. Yeah.
And definitely, there is definitely a place for you here back home, Lauren. And there's a lot of Filipino songwriters have actually come up with a lot of great songs. Especially during the past year, because we're already nearing the first year of this pandemic, and a lot of talented Filipinos who are also aspiring to be songwriters came up with a lot of great songs during the past 12 months. And definitely, for sure, Lauren also came up with some amazing videos with that. And what are your timelines, perhaps, let's say, looking at where we are at right now? Where do you think and when do you think you'd be able to, just basing it on your timeline and your goals, you'd be able to be part of or to be in the local industry here in the Philippines?
Oh gosh. I mean, do you mean sort of like when would I be able to come to the Philippines?
Yeah, you come home and then you can try to
Oh.
penetrate the local industry.
Yeah, I mean, I feel obviously we can't. I mean, I suppose we can kind of travel right now, but we're not really supposed to. And there's so many issues with quarantining when you get to one place and quarantining if you want to come back. So I've kind of just put traveling out of my mind, even though I absolutely adore going traveling. But I think as soon as things settle back down, I'm coming to the Philippines 100%. And I mean, whenever I've been there, I've only spent like 2 weeks there, but I'd love to spend months there, and just really explore that. So hopefully, if everything goes well, the coronavirus and the vaccinations, hopefully in the next year or two, I can actually spend some proper time in the Philippines and get to know some Filipino songwriters and singers.
That would be awesome, Lauren. So we're just going to go to our final break, and then we know you've got a quarantine song out yourself. So we're just going to run our final break, and then we're going to be moving on to that. So we'll see you guys back soon on Pusong Pinoy with Malcolm Conlan.
Perfect.
The spice is nice. It's really good. I really recommend it.
It's like home. Everything's perfect.
It's absolutely delicious.
It was really, really nice.
Superbly marinated.
The customer service is amazing. My favorite Asian food in Bangkok now.
It was genuinely the best, most filling meal I've ever eaten in my life.
The most authentic place to come for Filipino street food, food and rice.
Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
I don't go out no more, making friends with the dishes. And I'm so bored, but I don't know how to fix it. Somebody tell me how to motivate me. Too many days I've been quarantined crazy. stuck in a house that don't feel like home. Miss my friends, but I hate talking on the phone. I have organized, thrown out half of my clothes, but I still don't feel satisfied on my own. It's the same place, no change, cabin kind of fever. Good days, bad days, days I wanna give up. Same place, no change, cabin kind of fever. Wanna give up. I don't go out no more, making friends with the dishes. And I'm so bored, but I don't know how to fix it. Somebody tell me how to motivate me. Too many days I've been quarantined. I don't go out no more, making friends with the dishes. And I'm so bored, but I don't know how to fix it. Somebody tell me how to motivate me. Too many days I've been quarantined, crazy. Slept in late to try to kill some time. Baked banana bread and drank all of the wine. I should really go out and get exercise, but instead I'ma find some more stuff to buy. And it's the same place, no change, cabin kind of fever. Good days, bad days, days I wanna give up. Same place, no change, cabin kind of fever. Wanna give up. I don't go out no more, making friends with the dishes. And I'm so bored, but I don't know how to fix it. Somebody tell me how to motivate me. Too many days I've been quarantined. I don't go out no more, making friends with the dishes. And I'm so bored, but I don't know how to fix it. Somebody tell me how to motivate me. Too many days I've been quarantined, crazy. Quarantine, crazy, quarantine. Quarantine, crazy, quarantine. Quarantine, crazy. Too many days I've been quarantine, crazy.
Wow, awesome. I absolutely love that, you know, and I love the Snapchat as well. I think it's really, really trendy. I think that song is really on trend with its message, particularly during quarantine as well. We're just going to flash some messages on the screen. I know we've been receiving some comments from some of our people who've been watching, which is absolutely awesome. We're just going to go ahead now. Okay, Alexa 31202, watching from Santa Maria, San Jacinto, Pangasinan.
Hello.
From your hometown. Hello, Alexa.
Hi. I think that might be one of my cousins.
Oh, fantastic. Brenda Lagbata Pabandero, pronunciation, watching in Sheffield, UK.
That's my auntie. Hello.
Oh, wow.
Hi,
Oh, that's
Auntie
awesome.
Brenda.
We have another message coming up. That's Joshua Buendia, who's based in the Philippines. He's a journalist and also a very good friend of mine, and he's watching as well, which is absolutely awesome. So we have people watching from back home in the Philippines as well as in the UK.
Amazing. Thank you for coming,
Watching
everyone.
from Caloocan City, Philippines. Wow, excellent. Thank you. Salamat. Rudy Labrojo. Now, I don't know if you know Rudy Labrojo or Mia. You might have seen Mia online, but Mia is an upcoming singer-songwriter who, in fact, will be featuring on our show in the next few weeks again. And she's very, very talented. Maybe you two guys could do like some collaboration or something, maybe sing together. She's absolutely awesome. From her dad. Hi, Sir Malcolm, special guest, all Kababayan Mabuhay from Belfast.
Wow. Hi. That'll be awesome. I'm definitely up for collaborating.
Brilliant. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Can you just tell us a little bit about how that song came about, the quarantine song, before we end this episode this week?
Yes, absolutely. So I was in the second national UK lockdown. We're in our third one now. And I was just sort of feeling like, oh God, this again. You know, I mean, the first one it wasn't too bad. It was like, oh, we all get a bit of a break. I don't have to go to work. I'm on furlough. I can take some banana bread, maybe sort out some of my cupboards. You know, this will be all right. I mean, it lasted longer than we thought it would. But then, you know, I think we sort of thought, oh, it'll all go back to normal after this, and then of course it didn't, and we ended up in another national lockdown. And I think it really hit me that time. You know, what am I going to do? What I've done everything there is to do at home now, and I was really struggling to write songs. There was nothing new happening, nothing new to say, and I just thought, well, why don't I just write about that? Let me just tell people how I'm feeling, kind of like have a bit of a pity party in a way. But then sort of when I started showing it to my friends, they were like, oh my God, this is so relatable. I'm feeling the exact same. And I was like, that's amazing, because I've managed to sort of capture sort of what we're all going through right now in the COVID pandemic. And it's not easy. And some have it a lot harder than others. But yeah, ultimately, we're all going through it together. And as I went to make the music video, I thought, you know, let me do it on my phone, on Snapchat, and sort of bring that element of social media into it, because that's what's really been holding us all together, you know, being able to see our friends at least on Instagram or Skype or Zoom. So, yeah, I just sort of wanted to really capture what we're all going through right now, so that at least when it's all hopefully over, we've got just a little time capsule to look back on, really.
Well, it's really kind of trendy what you're doing right now, and I think that's awesome. And I think that's great that singer-songwriters can find the latest trend and kind of support that, because I think people want to watch this kind of stuff. It's crazy how many people go on YouTube and Facebook and they're looking for things to watch. When I was in my childhood, I used to watch TV on a Sunday. We used to sit down together and watch Only Fools and Horses, Upstairs, Downstairs, and various other shows. Some of them you probably have never even heard of, but now times have changed. We're all on YouTube and social media, and I think my show too came about last summer because of lockdown and quarantine. I'm a really sociable person. I love to attend Filipino events, community events, and I haven't been able to do that. So I guess this has been my outlet to connect with people. And I guess that's the new normal, right, Josh?
Exactly. And pretty much you captured it very well. And in your very hip and trendy song, Lauren, you captured all the thoughts that we also have in mind. And this is really the generation where you just have to relax. Per what Mayang shared earlier, don't worry about too much if nothing much is happening, if there's really less movement, less happening in your life at this point, because all we have to do is just relax and really wait for things to go back to normalcy, because this is a pandemic. This is unprecedented. We didn't expect this to happen, but we just don't need to panic. We just don't need to really fret and lose our control of things.
Exactly. So Lauren, any final shout outs to any friends, family? Have you got any final words for us?
Well, I'd like to say hello to all my family in the Philippines and in the UK watching. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for bringing me to where I am today. And
Wow.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you, Josh, for everything. It's been a brilliant interview.
Yes, and just really lastly, before we really wrap up the show, there's just a very last comment from someone very special to Lauren, from your grandmother.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Laura. Hello.
Laura Boses.
Wow, that's awesome that she's watching from Pangasinan. You know, my heart is very dear to Pangasinan. I've been back home to the Philippines probably more than 50 times over the last 2 decades. And you know, Pangasinan is so special to me. So a big shout out to you, Nanay Flora, and of course to everyone in Pangasinan and to everyone watching. It's been really, really special. I've really enjoyed this episode. And Lauren, thank you so much. We're looking forward to more of your singing, songwriting, and YouTube music. You know, we're really excited for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So it's over to you, Josh.
Yes, so Malcolm, this is another great episode. I'm so glad that I've joined you today. We had a very special guest, Lauren and Mayang, who shared really good stories and their talents in this show, which a lot of Filipinos who are tuned in today are able to watch, and definitely a lot more stories to tell in future episodes with your show.
Thank you so much. So thank you very much, Joshua. I know with the typhoon and everything, I guess it's been really hard. And I'd like to send my best wishes to everyone in your region. And I'm praying that there's no big disaster and that everything goes okay. You have my thoughts, you have my prayers, my very best wishes. So guys, stay safe there.
Thank you so much, Malcolm. And yeah, you take care as well. And happy Sunday. Thank you so much for having me in the show.
Brilliant. It's really late there now, so I'm going to let you get off. But in the meantime, thank you so much. Is it, how do you say maraming dagang salamat? There we are.
Yes, you got it right. Dagang salamat and maayong gabi.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. So guys, looking forward to another exciting episode next week of Pusong Pinoy. We have a really, really awesome guest lineup for next week as well. So until next week, maraming salamat. Thank you so much.
Don't forget to share. Bye.
The spice is nice.
It's really good. I really recommend it.
It's like home.
Everything's perfect.
It's absolutely delicious.
It was really, really nice.
Superbly marinated.
The customer service is amazing. My favorite Asian food in Bangkok now.
It was genuinely the best, most filling meal I've ever eaten in my life.
The most authentic place to come for Filipino street food, spoon and rice.
Sa World Remit, naiintindihan namin ang iyong paglalakbay. Na minsan, kailangan lumayo upang makamit ang tagumpay. With ways to save more, when you send more, World Remit is here for you. So you can be there for them.